Chicago. Only Trump could Freaky Friday Chicago and Gaza. And I know Trump is upset that he didn't win the Nobel Peace Prize, but the last guy to send heavily armed men into an American city was Bane from Batman. Bane, who was also snubbed for the Peace Prize. And Trump deserves credit, I have to say, for brokering this ceasefire in Gaza, but I'm slightly skeptical since Biden also negotiated a ceasefire in Gaza 9 months ago.
Today, Colin Jost is on a rampage, and yes, Trump is squarely in his sights. Tweets roasted, ego crushed, hair questioned, confidence shaken. Welcome to a comedy demolition zone where jokes hit harder than a midterm upset. Buckle up, what comes next isn't just funny, it's chaos, it's wild, it's savage. Laugh, gasp, and wonder, did this really happen?
President Trump finally released what everyone has been asking him to release.
Nice.
George Santos, the former Republican congressman who had pled guilty to fraud and something called aggravated identity theft, which I think is when you push someone into a closet and switch clothes with them, is now free and will face zero consequences. But Santos says that he's a changed man, and he even released a photo of his new prison body.
Have you ever seen someone politely, calmly, and with surgical precision dismantle a human ego before millions? No, congratulations, Colin just turned public embarrassment into art. And Trump, bless him, he didn't even see it coming.
The actual Nobel Peace Prize was awarded this week to Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado, or as Fox News reported it, Trump robbed by deranged Hispanic. Memorable. President Trump issued a proclamation ending Indigenous Peoples Day and calling Christopher Columbus the original American hero. So while Trump is rounding up people with ice, he's praising Columbus, a guy who literally brought boatloads of Hispanics to America.
It began like any other night, a crowd ready to laugh, a stage glowing with lights, and one man believing he was untouchable. Colin ignored the memo. He went straight for the jugular, and suddenly Trump's confidence looked like a child attempting chess against a grandmaster.
On Air Force One to the Middle East to celebrate the ceasefire, President Trump told reporters, "I don't think there's anything that's going to get me into heaven." Then he paused for 10 full minutes, waiting for someone to say, "That's not true." Because Trump can't go to heaven. He's far too busy down here, running hell. Who wants people to stop coming up to him to order chicken, has become the third person on President Trump's enemies list to be.
Colin doesn't rely on subtlety, he wields precision. Every joke, every crafted punch lands with perfect charm and ruthless clarity. He doesn't merely highlight flaws, he transforms them into a complete comedy narrative that exposes, entertains, and commands attention.
Watch Trump sign an executive order on concert ticket fees and then return to his regular job as a 4th of July lawn skeleton. I love that you can intentionally ruin the economy and still get to stay president. It's like if you drunk drove your car through the window of the DMV and they were like, "License renewed." It's insane. This was the worst week for the stock market since the summer of 2020. But you have to remember, back then, the president was also Trump.
That hair, not a style. It's a science experiment defying gravity and logic. Tweets, gifts to history turned chaos in Colin's hands. That ego visible from space suddenly looks like a deflated balloon at a sad kid's party. The kind of jokes that make you squirm, laugh, and feel slightly guilty. That's the Colin effect. Trump, confident as ever, blinked and muttered about fake news while the audience leaned into the comedy hurricane. But Colin doesn't stop at surface quirks. He dives deeper, questioning every decision. Why tweet at 3 a.m.? Why think rallies are Broadway auditions? Why insist every move becomes historic when chaos reigns? He paints a man trapped in his own reality show. No editing, no producers, no pause button. Then come the subtle surgical digs, the ones that make people laugh and pause simultaneously. Each misplaced word, each overconfident gesture, wobble the untouchable persona like Jenga in an earthquake.
Met with President Trump at the White House this week, where Trump announced he's sending $40 billion to Argentina. Because if history is any guide, a lot of Trump officials will end up fleeing to Argentina. Well, America elected Donald Trump to run the country like a business, but it turns out he's running it like one of his businesses. I love that you can intentionally ruin the economy and still get to stay president. It's like if you drunk drove your car through the window of the DMV and they were like, "License renewed."
It's not just humor, it's timing, delivery, and quiet confidence that screams, "I know exactly what I'm doing and you are not in control." You can almost see the gears turning in Trump's head. He wants to respond, of course, but the punchlines are preemptive strikes. By the time he realizes the attack, laughter has already claimed victory, and the internet updates itself with Trump roasts so savage they hurt the ego. Memes explode faster than a tweet storm. Clips spread like wildfire with captions pleading, "Someone save the ego." Every frame of Colin delivering a line becomes an instant GIF, a digital record of humiliation. Even late-night hosts pause, muttering, "How do you come back from this?" But Colin doesn't just mock. He elevates comedy into commentary, blending observation, satire, and truth that bites harder than a subpoena. One moment you laugh, the next you confront the absurdity of the entire persona. This demolition isn't cruelty, it's clarity.
The Democratic National Committee protested President Trump's plans to accept a $400 million luxury jet from Qatar by flying a banner over Mar-a-Lago reading Qatar-a-Lago. It's the kind of hilarious stunt that makes you realize why the Democrats will never win again. Ethical experts are also warning that Trump may owe political favors to countries who give him lavish gifts. But based on the way he left the Middle East, I think I know how Trump is going to pay that.
The scale of it was staggering. Joking behind closed doors is one thing. Commanding a stage with millions watching and turning every pretense into a punchline is another. Trump's carefully built fortress of confidence crumbled under a few artful sentences. Watching a man who spent decades cultivating invincibility quietly evaporate under humor felt almost poetic. The audience oscillated between awe, disbelief, and pure joy, laughing not just at jokes, but at witnessing the improbable. Colin managed to be charming and devastating simultaneously, a rare feat. Every line wasn't just funny, it was surgical. For Trump, it was like being in a foxhole while someone quietly, efficiently rearranged the furniture around him.
Insane. This was the worst week for the stock market since the summer of 2020. But you have to remember, back then, the president was also Trump. Just in the past 2 days, investors have lost over $6 trillion. Money is leaving the stock market faster than Morgan Wallen at goodnight. Met with Kid Rock for what appears to be drag queen story.
Some jokes were surgical, the kind that make you laugh, then realize halfway through that they pierced. Humor that entertains, warns, and quietly judges. But Colin didn't stop there. He built a narrative. Each joke became a chapter, each punchline a plot twist, and every reaction from Trump reinforced the story unfolding exactly as intended. Narrative-driven comedy with a protagonist who didn't get a heroic ending. Amid the chaos, Colin's skill shines, balancing wit, irony, timing, and social commentary. While Trump might not have appreciated it, the world did. Social media erupted. Clips, memes, analyses, and debates dissecting timing, phrasing, even body language. Watching him dismantle a carefully curated public image so meticulously reminded everyone just how powerful comedy can be.
Donald Trump posted on Truth Social that he wasn't scared of going to jail for violating a gag order, saying, "I will gladly become a modern-day Nelson Mandela." Unfortunately for Halloween. Thank you. Good evening. Good evening, everyone.
Welcome to Weekend Update. I'm Michael Che.
I'm Colin Jost. Well, 4 presidents visited New York City at the same time on Thursday, 3 to do a joint fundraiser at Radio City, and 1 selling Bibles door to door. Donald Trump has partnered with country music star Lee Greenwood to sell a $60 special edition of the Bible that also includes the Constitution, the lyrics to Greenwood's "God Bless the USA," and, I assume, God's letter of resignation. This Bible is mostly the same, but Trump's version ends with Jesus' disciples storming Jerusalem to overturn the results of the crucifixion.
The world nodded and laughed, entertained and impressed by the audacity of the performance. Beneath the humor lies a lesson. Public personas, no matter how grand, are vulnerable to clarity, critique, and sharp observation. It doesn't require shouting or theatrics, just wit, timing, and the ability to push cracks until they widen. That was Colin's power. Trump, master of media and narrative control, was unprepared for humor as a weapon. No press conference, tweet, or spin could counter it. Comedy delivered with precision became the ultimate truth serum. By night's end, it was clear. Even the largest egos are vulnerable, and a flawless punchline can cut deeper than any scandal.
The CEOs of many tech companies who supported President Trump's campaign have said they were surprised by all of his tariffs. Well, yeah, I mean, he hardly ever mentioned them. Campaign finance records show that in the last 6 months, the super PACs behind Donald Trump spent $50 million on Trump's legal fees. And that's with the cheapest, worst lawyers on the planet. Can you imagine spending $50 million on the people who just lost you $83 million? I mean, this lawyer did such a bad job in court, I thought her actual name was over.
While Trump may have retreated, muttered, or pondered a questionable tweet storm, the world watched and laughed. That's the beauty of it. Comedy done right doesn't just entertain, it reshapes perception, punctures egos, and leaves a lasting mark. Colin didn't merely tell jokes, he executed a masterclass in humor, strategy, and observation. He turned a standard routine into a full-scale ego demolition. Sometimes the sharpest weapon isn't a lawsuit or protest, it's wit. Precision, confidence, and timing can cut through bravado, expose absurdity, and leave audiences in awe. Colin Jost didn't just make a point, he made history, one punchline at a time.
Behind Donald Trump spent $50 million on Trump's legal fees. And that's with the cheapest, worst lawyers on the planet. Can you imagine spending $50 million on the people who just lost you $83 million? I mean, this lawyer did such a bad job in court, I thought her actual name was overruled shutdown.
Next time someone says comedy can't change the world, remember this night. The calm, collected, perfectly timed demolition. The audience laughing, gasping, collectively nodding. Even the biggest egos have a kryptonite, and sometimes it's impeccable timing and killer humor. Colin Jost politely, calmly, hilariously destroyed a human ego in front of millions, and Trump didn't see it coming. Stage set, lights on, Colin, armed with precision wit, went straight for the jugular. Hair question, tweets exposed, ego deflated like a sad birthday balloon. Surgical, clever, ruthless humor highlighted quirks, exposed chaos, and left the world pausing mid-laugh. No comeback possible, Trump unprepared.
Well, 4 presidents visited New York City at the same time on Thursday, 3 to do a joint fundraiser at Radio City, and 1 selling Bibles door to door. Donald Trump has partnered with country music star Lee Greenwood to sell a $60 special edition of the Bible that also includes the Constitution, the lyrics to Greenwood's God Bless the USA, and I assume God's letter of resignation. The Bible is mostly the same, but Trump's version ends with Jesus' disciples storming Jerusalem to overturn the results of the crucifixion.
His carefully curated persona evaporated under timing, delivery, and sheer comedic force. Public ego met surgical roast, and the untouchable became hilariously human. It wasn't cruelty, it was clarity wrapped in wit. Social media ignited, clips spread like wildfire, every gesture flinch and word dissected. Watching this was more than entertainment, it was comedy as strategy, commentary, and truth serum. By the end, the message was clear. Even the biggest egos, the loudest Twitter fingers, are vulnerable. The ultimate weapon, a perfectly timed joke. Colin Jost didn't just tell jokes, he executed a public demolition, leaving Trump stunned and the audience roaring.